Welcome to part two of my series on blended families. There's things in all of these podcasts that are good for everybody, but this is especially for blended families. And it's called The Kids Uncovering Hidden Division in Blended Families. When we marry into an instant family, whether it's two plus three or one plus one, or as with my son, four plus four on kids, we get stuck in our own challenges because there's a lot of them. But the kids also face challenges. They face loss of one of their parents, hurt, and they still need love. But hurting people hurt others, and that goes for us in marriage as adults, and it goes for children whenever they have a bad attitude or they're frustrated or they're angry. Hurting people hurt others. And when you can figure out how to move around these things and you recognize the problems, you have a lot better chance of moving past them quicker. So, number one, it's hard. Your kids, my kids, his kids, her kids. How do we become a family? How do we get to know one another and learn to appreciate one another? Face and think about our challenges that we all have. We all have to deal with those because they make themselves known. But what if we also learn to look for what is special about each person and we appreciate one another and acknowledge what is good in one another? Well, when it comes to bringing your families together, there's two ways to do everything. And as I said in the first part of these podcast series, it's important to talk about it and think about how you're going to bring that together. How you're not going to look at his kids and how they're treating your kids, or how the kids aren't getting along and one's meaner than another. Remember, hurting kids hurt others. So, literally, when kids are giving you problems in your blended family, they're hurting in some way, and it's just going to come out one way or the other. But when it comes out, you as a parent feel frustrated. You don't know what to do with this child. Why are they acting this way? And it causes a wedge, usually between the new parent and the kid, because right now, you know, kids also need to use that love bank, like I talked about before in other podcasts, where couples are either filling a love bank with doing good things for each other, meeting each other in the middle, spending time together, or they are emptying the love bank because they're frustrated, maybe at work, maybe they use harsh language, they don't know how to communicate well, and they empty the love bank. Same thing happens with children. And so they have this little love bank. If you just picture it, they're just innocent little kids. They didn't choose any of this. They're just in the middle of the situation. They got this little love bank, and they just need you to make deposits in their little love bank. And when we have to get frustrated with them, because hey, I still have grandkids, and yeah, they try me sometimes. And I take away from that love bank when I have to scold them, get all over them. But at the same time, I feel that love bank all the time. And so my tiny little withdrawal from that bank is not much. But when you don't already have an established love bank and it's all full, then every little thing withdraws and causes more and more problem. So, how do we become a family? How do we learn to get along, by sharing and respecting each other? Number two, hard living in two houses. These children have to live in two houses. As parents, we don't think about it because we're in the middle of dealing with whatever it is we're dealing with. Because we may be dealing with our ex and at the same time learning our new spouse and all the different things in life. But it's hard for the kids living their life in two houses. I think the best thing you can do for that is to become congenial with the ex, talk civilly, respect one another, don't talk about the spouse in front of the kids, demeaning the other spouse, and do your best to create a better living environment for the kids. At both houses, they have two separate lives. One thing is to be able to take a couple of my toys and my stuff over there. Now, some parents decide to have you buy all their clothes over there and you buy all their clothes over there. Now they have two sets of clothes, two sets of toys, two separate lives. It's kind of like another demand on them, another thing that is going to cause them to be frustrated or to withdraw and close up and not even talk to you. Do you see what I mean? They're forced to live in two houses and they have to deal with it forever. Mom's rules, dad's rules. Wow. I mean, that is a separate podcast all on its own about parenting, right? It's hard. So just be aware of it and think of it because often we don't think about it because we're so busy with the other things. Number three, all kids want to be heard, understood, and appreciated. I use this all the time. It goes for spouses, it goes for your friends, it goes for everybody. We all want to be heard. We want to know that you care enough to listen. And if you're not listening to your kids and your spouse, all this goes both ways. But if you're not listening to the children, maybe they have a little story to tell you, or they tell you something that happened at school, you're spending that time listening to each kid. Think about when you had 10 kids. I think you might have to like listen to different children on different days. Like, don't tell them that. I listen to you on Monday and Thursday. You have Tuesday and Friday. Anyway, you see my point. It's kind of like really being on purpose and deciding, how am I going to manage all this? All kids want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to know that you understand their hurts. You want to understand how they feel. You want to understand whenever one of their siblings is pounding them or talking down to them or being mean to them. We just started watching the old show, Tool Time, with Tim Allen in it. And that show is a great comedy because it just shows you the different styles in parents and it shows you how siblings pick on one another if you didn't have a brother or sister and didn't get to have the opportunity for that. But they want to be heard, understood, and they want to be appreciated. Like, so if they do something nice, it's like, thank you, honey. That was really helpful. Simple appreciation. When I talk about different personalities and behaviors in people, I teach that in Rediscover Your Spouse. Some personalities never say thank you. I think that's something we can learn, we could teach our kids. Some never say, hey, you're doing a great job. They like just don't because they never think you are doing a great job because you're never doing it as good as them. So different personalities aren't able to appreciate the other person as much. But when I tell you this, if you know that and you address it, you can begin to get better at that. We can develop any kind of habit we want. We just have to take action and start doing it little by little, right? So all kids want to be heard, understood, and appreciated. And I simply call that respecting one another. I respect how you feel. I respect that you're different than me. I respect you have different background, different things have happened to you that maybe I'll never know or understand, but respect your differences and understand your differences. Number four, parents need to forgive their exes. Yeah, this is a big part because when there's animosity about not forgiving your ex, and yeah, I have never been there before. I haven't had to do that. I can't imagine how hard it is and all the things that happen when families split up. I can't even imagine it. And I do not want to, actually. But parents need to forgive their exes. You need to respect your ex, appreciate him for whatever's good, let go of whatever's bad. Like, just don't think about him anymore, but respect one another because it teaches your children forgiveness. And we all have to learn forgiveness. You got to get your own head straight. So that's a very important one. Number five, hurting hostile kids. Yeah, that's another behavior style that you learn and rediscover your spouse. Because when you rediscover your spouse and all the personality styles and behavior styles, you also will understand your children. Hurting kids are hostile. They retreat inside. They might not talk to you, tell you what the problem is. But when they're acting out and they're angry and mad, that's one of the top emotions of one of particular personality styles. When you start to recognize that, you can learn a whole new way to deal with your child. If they retreat inside, they won't talk to you, they really do need to talk. So even though they're acting like they don't want your attention or they're not going to talk to you, it's like, man, you got to stay at it in a loving manner until they open up and talk to you. And whenever you have children and you're raising them and you've learned to communicate with them, they learn to communicate with you, you respect them, they respect you, then you don't have trouble with your teenagers. Yeah, they're all going to be teenagers at one point. Maybe when you married, you already have teenagers. God bless you, and I pray for you. But when kids are hurting, they become angry and hostile. It shows up at school, it shows up with their friends, it shows up with their siblings. Kids react differently. Number six, create an open but respectful environment to share words, right? To talk. Create an open but respectful environment. I was just talking to my daughter, and we were talking about, younger kids and dealing with different things. Plus, we both deal with kids at church and school and different places like that too. And whenever you run across a kid who talks back. Yeah, that's one of my number one things. I'm like, I'm very respectful and loving with kids, but do not talk back to me. And my kids could say anything they needed to say. They could air their feelings because when you don't let them air their feelings, whatever they are, then they start to like go inward and just box them all up, hang on to them, and then it's going to explode at some point. So I used to always say to my kids, all right, wait a minute. Listen to how you're saying that. Is there a better way? Can you say that in a nicer fashion? Maybe pause, take a breath, try that again. And then anytime they do that, where they're talking disrespectfully, this is a big one because you're probably going to get that if you have a blended family. They're talking disrespectfully. Don't allow any of them to do it because when you allow one and then you don't allow the others are like, hey, why do they get to do that? Although it's not a privilege or anything. Um, but you want to treat everybody the same. And I talked about that in the last podcast also. But create an open but respectful environment. Help kids learn to express their feelings and listen to them. Because when you listen to them, they know you care. It's just that. When you listen to them, they know you care. So if you don't care, pretend you do for a while. Act and you will become. Practice and you'll get it. New habits. Find new ways. And guess what? It brings peace. It brings peace to you and your spouse whenever the kids are feeling loved, heard, appreciated, all that kind of thing. So create an open but respectful environment. Don't allow kids to talk back to you. Expect them to talk to you nicely and respectfully. And that also means that maybe we don't raise our voice and yell at them either, unless there's a major thing, like a bunch of kids are fighting or we've called it out and then we called it out and then we called it out and then we yell. Yeah, then we yell. Number seven, have family meetings together. I really love this, especially for my son that has 10 kids. Having family meetings together. And that can mean, hey, let's have family night. We're going to watch a movie. But, before we do that, hey, let's go around the circle and talk about our day. What was your favorite thing that happened at this week at school? And what was the worst thing? What made you mad or what irritated or what hurt your feelings? And let everybody go around. Everybody starts to learn about one another and get to know one another better. We start to respect and empathize with one another more whenever we all are talking. And the truth is, when you get a larger and larger family, it's hard to be heard. It's hard to get any attention because there's so much going on and so many people. It's like you just can't help it. Um, and that brings me to having family dinners together. Yes, having family dinners together. It might not always be convenient or easy, but you really try to do that one thing. Family dinners together. At least 3 or 4 days a week, if not just about every day because you're all facing each other. You could even take turns talking or sharing. Ask a question there again and go around the table. That might be your family meeting, right? You don't do it every day, but maybe on a special day you do that. And it keeps everybody in touch. Everybody feels more a part of the family. And I mean, they're happier. We want our kids to be confident and happy, don't we? I know that we do. Everybody wants good things for their kids. And one extra special thing, whether it's at the dinner table or at that family meeting night, is meetings are not just to reprimand and tell about bad things. Let's make family meeting night a special night we did this with our grandkids whenever we were watching Eight Kids at the beginning of our son's new marriage a few years ago. So we wanted to get to know the kids. We wanted the kids to love us and feel like our other grandkids did. And we knew our own grandkids from the time they were born, and we developed those relationships, filling that love bank with one another, and we adored them and enjoyed them. And so we wanted our new grandkids to feel the same way. So we did several things that first year, to spend time with them, try to talk with them, make them feel loved, give them a hug, and so that's what we did to try to reach out to them, because we knew that, when you bring those families together, it's hard. It's hard for the kids. It's hard for couples, but it's really hard for the kids too. So we spent time doing that. So one night we did this. We all got all the kids in a circle. We gave them little pieces of paper and pencils, and we said, all right, actually, it was a lot of pieces of paper. So each kid had 8 pieces seven pieces because they didn't have to write about themselves. So they each had 7 pieces of paper, and they had to go around and put each person's name in their new family to get on a piece of paper. First, you put a name on each of the 7 pieces of paper. And then I said, okay, now I want you to go and I want you to write something. I don't remember if I said one thing, 2 things, or 3 things, but you want to write something that you really like about them. It might be a talent they have. It might be some way that they're helpful. Maybe you love their clothes. That's a girl thing, isn't it? Something you really love about them. And do you know what that does when you go around the circle and then you passed out all those pieces of paper to all your siblings, and you go around the circle and you get to read out loud the 7 things. You don't know who said it. I don't remember if we put names on there. We might have, I can't remember. But when you read out 7 things that people love about you, wow, that is so powerful. It's so powerful. I think I first saw that done in a class or something at school, or a church group thing. I can't remember. But whenever you do that, um, we all want to be understood and appreciated. We want to be heard. We want to be seen. We want to know that people like us. It's just a natural human thing, right? Well, I think about what that creates in your family. I think that's my favorite thing. So have family meetings and eat dinner together. Number 8, create fair distribution of chores. Now, this is about the kids, but this is also for you parents, because some people do everything themselves. They might be a perfectionist and they want it done a certain way. Some just don't get it all done because it's impossible. Think of the laundry. Think of cleaning up after that many kids. You definitely got to set boundaries, but create fair distribution of chores. And what does this do? It builds teamwork from the kids. It brings belonging, and it teaches them responsibility, and they feel like a team. They work together. Let me tell you, this builds a lot of stuff in kids. All right, so I have a confession. I also would make chore charts for my 3 small children because I thought this is good for them to help. I did this many times, and I'm the person who has a little trouble, especially back then, following through or doing the same thing day after day. So I would make the chart. It lasted usually 2 to 3 days, but hey, I meant well. But if you're a person who can make a chart for the kids And it might rotate or it's according to their abilities and how old they are and that kind of thing. You have to figure that out, and then stick to it. I love the story of this family, and I don't think they'll mind me sharing this. But my daughter-in-law had said to her couple, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you must have so much laundry. I mean, and how do you keep your house so good? I can't even imagine because I didn't keep mine good, and I had three kids. But I said, you should have all the kids do chores. So I said that a few different times, and one day she had set up a chore chart. It was great. I said, "How is that going?" She said, "I'll let you know. We just got started." So later on, I checked in again, and she said, "It's going good." She goes, "Several of the kids do their chores automatically because they're supposed to do it, and then, y'all wait for it. This is funny. They make sure everyone else does theirs. That's called leadership. Bossy kids, or whatever it is, peer pressure. But so they do their chores, and by golly, they make sure everybody does theirs. Oh my gosh, what a gift! Yes. All right, so distributing those chores. And number nine is discipline. You know what? You got to keep discipline the same for all the kids. So it's just how it is. My favorite was to count to three. I don't know where I came up with it whenever mine were little, but I hated to say things over and over, and I sure didn't like it when they didn't listen, because then I had to get up and go after them, right? So very early on, like two, I started counting to three. Like they'll test you. How far can I get? So when I counted to three and I said one, at first they didn't understand. But let me tell you, even 2 year olds, they understood pretty quickly. So I'd say one, two. And do you notice the tone of voice? Not one, two. You can be nice. So nice and stern. One, two. And if I said three, they got popped. Now, this even was on my grandkids. Like, I watched them a couple afternoons, pick them up from school, and guess what? Quickly, they would look at me, after they heard it a couple of times, they would look at me when they were little and they would think, is she gonna follow through? And after I had followed through once or twice with a pop on the bottom, then they looked at me, the look on their face, and they're like, I better listen. I better listen. And so they did what they were supposed to do. Draw the line. Be consistent. This is excellent. You may have another way that works for you. This worked for me. I loved it. It worked for me. Number 10, do everything with love. Yes, do everything with love. And whenever you're working as a family, you're disciplining everyone the same. You're making the kids feel loved. You're listening to them. Life is easier and you won't have so many frustrations, so much hostility. You won't have so many things going on. Love first, discipline second. Love first, discipline second. Discipline only the important things. How much does this really matter? If you discipline everything and you're all over their case all the time, they're angry and they're not going to listen. Or they feel disrespected, or they can't do anything right. Nobody likes somebody looking over their shoulder all the time. Love first. Show them that you love them by being consistent, drawing boundaries, spending time with the kids, talking with kids, having family time, and then discipline when needed, but be consistent. All right. Well, I just want to remind you about Rediscover Your Spouse Workshop. It's online, you guys. It is on demand. It is about 3 hours. It's like going to a half-day event, but you don't have to go anywhere. All you have to do is go to theextraordinarymarriage.com, go to my courses or my workshops, and you'll find that workshop. Listen to it. Listen to it with your spouse. It's a 2 for 1. You can both listen to it. You'll understand your spouse and be able to get along better. And then you're going to understand each one of your kids, your own kids, your spouse's kids. Oh my gosh, y'all. I cannot tell you. I learned this many years ago. And through the years, I've understood it more and more and more. It helps you understand why people act the way they do. It helps you predict how they'll act. You know, there's people who are really direct and they tell you what it like it is. It causes a lot of conflict sometimes, and you don't know what to do about that. So rediscover your spouse, overcome conflicts, know what's most important to each person in your house, grow your relationships with your spouse, and raise happy, confident kids. I'm Connie Durham with the Extraordinary Podcast. I'll see you next week. Oh, and there's one more thing. I have a mom's event coming up. So if this is current when you're listening to it, you'll be able to register on May 1st for my free mom's event.